is Budgeting KickStart. So the purpose of this event is twofold. It's to help people who have already started their journey with budgeting to pick more efficient and more beneficial ways to help budget, and then for people who are on the fence or don't think they need to budget, to help bring them over so they can get on that path to a good personal financial journey. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to define what a budget is. We're going to go over some common misconceptions and myths about budgeting. Then we're going to introduce you to two different methodologies to how you can budget, and then we're going to end our event with a quick Q&A with one of our professors in the business school with her personal experience with budgeting. So first, what is budget? So most people think when they hear about budget that it's just a simple, rigid structure on a piece of paper that you follow almost exactly. And for some people that is how they budget, but that's not what everything that a budget is. You should think of a budget as a lifestyle change, as a framework to help you understand how your finances move in and out of your period. And I use the word period because a budget doesn't have to be monthly. It can be weekly, it can be daily, it can be bi-weekly. It's whatever period you choose to help you understand how your money flows in and out of that period. So a budget is a lot more than you think. Because in its most simplest form, you don't really have to follow your budget exactly. Because it's not supposed to be something that tells you exactly what you're supposed to do. It's supposed to be a framework and a guideline that allows you to make smart decisions with your money throughout a period. So when we have that idea of a budget in our head, you just have to remember that when you make a budget, it's going to take time, especially when you first start, because you have to actually understand how your money is moving before you can actually make smart decisions with it. So when you first start with budgeting, you may get frustrated because you can't finish it in just 5 minutes. You'll be able to do that longer down the road after you have a more general understanding of how your money actually moves. But at the beginning, you should at least invest a few hours each month figuring out how much do I actually make and how much am I actually spending. But just like anything else, with a little bit of practice and a little bit of perseverance, you can do it. So now that we have a general idea of what a budget is, we're just going to go over some common budgeting myths and talk about why sort of these ideas are kind of destructive and why we need to get rid of them. So the first one we're going to talk about is that you don't have time to budget, which is kind of a weird thing to think about because a budget is your money. So when you say that, say it as I don't have time to figure out what I'm actually doing with my money, and no one really wants to admit that. So when you think about not having enough time to budget, you should actually think about what you will have time to do when you are out of money. So you might think you don't have time to budget now, but just think about all the benefits that can come from it, and just think about it as something that's going to be an investment up front but will help your life so much in the future. So whenever you hear that thought creep in your head, just think, no, I do have time to budget because I don't have time to scrape pennies at the end of the month to make sure I can eat. So just think of that type of thing. The second is making a budget is boring, which I personally don't understand because it's money, and anything you do with money can't be boring. So when you make your budget, just think about it in a way that, why am I budgeting? Come back to the reason why you're actually budgeting. That can help motivate you. So you may be budgeting to buy something, you may be budgeting just to make sure you have control over your finances over the month, and that's a goal that can help motivate you. And when you think about budgeting, just think about it in that sense. Like, the reason I'm doing this is for a purpose. It's not just because I'm trying to waste time. It's not because this is something I'm supposed to do. It's you're doing it because it's a personal reason and it's something that you want to benefit from. Next is making a budget is difficult. Now, you go on YouTube or any of these online resources and you see a lot of people who are doing super intense Excel spreadsheets with multiple formulas and all this type of things, but that's not really what you have to do when you budget. A budget can be as simple as you saying, hey, I make this much, I spend this much, and I want to save this much. And that's just simple third-rate math. So when you think of a budget, don't think of it as something that's going to be a daunting task because it's super high-level calculus or you need some type of business degree in order to do it. Just think of it as being able to actually control your money. So this is your money, you should be able to have a general feel of what's going on. And that's what a budget is supposed to be. Next is one of the things that really hurts a lot of people is the idea that you can do a budget in your head. So let's just think about the idea and think about it in the sense of, would you go an entire semester of one of your courses without taking notes? You probably wouldn't. So why would you think that you can take a budget and just do it in your head when it's so many things that you don't realize you're spending money on, so many things that you actually have to pay for? It's just a better thing to do in a physical format. It can be either online, it can be a piece of paper. It just has to be something physical that you can keep yourself accountable to. Because if you think about it, at some points in the month you can start justifying why this fits into your budget because it's in your head. You think, oh, it's only $20, I can do this, but you're actually not really budgeting anything. You're just justifying to yourself why you can make that purchase. So whenever you think, I can do this in my head, just say no. Write it down on a piece of paper, put it in Excel or use an online tool. Just keep track of it in some type of physical form that can keep you accountable and keep you on track. This one is a really big thing because a lot of people think budgeting is synonymous with being frugal or being as cheap as possible, when it's really not. Budgeting is just using your money in the most efficient way possible so that you're able to cover all your expenses and do any saving obligations or personal treating obligations that you want to do within that period. So when you think about people who are extra cheap, that's not what you should think about yourself when you're budgeting. You should think of it as a way of you being able to, like I said before, just have control over your money. So don't think of it as depriving yourself, think of it as you being able to spread out what you're actually making and what you're actually spending money on over a period of time so that when emergencies do happen, as point number 2 we'll talk about, you're able to cover it. So a lot of college students, a lot of younger people in general, really don't think that emergencies will happen to them. So it's really important that you have a budget because you never know what type of emergency expense will actually pop up. It can be something big, it can be something small, but anything that's an emergency can throw off your actual flow of cash, so you just need to be able to have a stable understanding of what's happening in your bank account in order to cover these expenses. Because you never know when you might fall, you never know when you might have to cover something that's additional for a class that wasn't additionally in the syllabus, so you just need to make sure that you're prepared to cover any of these emergency expenses that may pop up. And then the last one is something that a lot of people do is because they only budget when they think that they need something, and it's very difficult to just kind of motivate yourself where you're not trying to go for a car or for a house or something big. We just think about it as a way for you to actually just gain more control over your life. Because when you have the ability to understand what happened with your money at any point in time, it's just a lot of personal freedom. It just allows you to explore different options and to kind of move beyond this fear of, should I be doing this? Should I check my bank account first? It's just more of you having that own understanding of what's going on. So, like in the first point, just think of something that's a smaller thing. It doesn't always have to be something big that you're striving for. You can just be wanting to save, oh, I want to save an additional $20 this month, or I want to save $10 this month. It's something that allows you to have a goal that you can move forward. And you don't need to have these sort of massive ideas for you to start saving. It should always be a portion of what you're doing. So now that we talk about myths, we do a general overview of what budgeting is, we're going to talk about some different methods. So for both of these methods, we're going to be recommending that you do what is called a zero-sum type of budget, where everything that you're spending and everything that you make comes together and equals zero. So that doesn't mean that you're necessarily spending all your money, it just means that you're also accounting for things that you're saving and things that you're rewarding yourself with in your budget. And that really helps when you're doing math because you know it's supposed to equal zero. So the first method that we're going to recommend are online tools. And there are dozens of online tools, and they make things really easy because it's a really user interface friendly. So you're able to go online, import all your important finances, your bill due dates, and just different ways for you to keep track of everything that's going on. And a lot of people use these methods. So we're going to highlight the 3 different types of these online tools, and we're going to talk about some of the tools that we recommend you use. So first, when you're going to this, because there's so many resources, some of them are free and some of them aren't. So the first thing I would like you to note is that when you're actually picking your tool, make sure that you need everything that is offered before you spend money on something. Because there are so many free resources, so many free tools that you probably won't actually have to pay for your budgeting resource. So make sure that you really do due diligence and make sure that you're not getting scammed or doing something that you don't really need in order to help yourself. So what you really need to do is figure out what you need from your budgeting tool. So a lot of people have different needs. So there are 3 different major types of tools that we'll go over, and they are the budget tool, which is either a simple budgeting tool or a multi-scale budgeting tool that has a lot of the services offered by the next few sections. Then there's the auto saver, which is something that I use personally. It allows for you to passively save money based off of whatever algorithm that they're using to help you save money. So what it does, I use with a program that's called Digit. Essentially what it does, it attaches itself to your checking account and it's fully secure. And what it does, it tracks your spending habits and it makes withdrawals that puts it into a private savings account within the app that just allows for you to save money over time. And what it does a lot of small different withdrawals. So for example, they've made several withdrawals that were all less than 15 cents from my bank account over the past 3 weeks, and I never noticed any of them. But when I get my statement at the end of the week, I found out that I was able to save $8 just from those 11-cent transactions over that period. So it really adds up, and it's something that won't be impactful to your bank account because the way their service works is that it makes sure that it won't take out any amount that would actually hurt you. The last one is for bill pay for people who maybe have cell phone bills or any type of utility that they have to pay on a set schedule each month. A lot of financial institutions have this already set up in your bank account. Same with the auto saver. I know Bank of America and Wells Fargo have programs which allow for you to save automatically on each purchase that you make. But the bill pay is really good when you're forgetful or that you sometimes don't actually remember that you have a bill that's due. So now, before that, we end this section, I just want to go back to budgeting tools because they are really a wide gamut. The first one that a lot of people use is just a simple budgeting tool. There are apps you can download on your phone, there are websites. Then it's just simple plug and chug. You create categories and just have it set up so that you put in the amount you make and everything that you have to spend, and that just allows for you to have a general quick overview. The second one, which is a multi-scale, which is something like Mint or Personal Capital, it's a tool that allows you to break into the section and just it attaches itself to your bank account and it gives you recommendations, which is something that a lot of people really like because sometimes you don't really know what you're spending and it can analyze your transactions and help create the categories for you. So if you're not a person that really wants to take the time to do self-reflection, a multi-scale budgeting tool can really help you go in and figure out what exactly you're spending your money on and how you can figure that out and just be more efficient with the way you spend your money. But the best way for you to figure out which one for you is to try them all, but do it in a responsible way because one of the things that makes people frustrated with budgeting and using online tools is when they subscribe to many blogs, sign up for all of these programs, and they become overwhelmed with the amount of information that they're getting. So pick one or two, try them out, see if they work, and then if they don't, get rid of them before you move on to something else. Because sometimes there won't be a one-stop solution for everything that you need. Like I use an app that's called Personal Capital, and I do that in addition to Digit because it offers all of the tools that I need in order to keep track of my various investments, my general checking and savings, and it's just a really good tool to make sure that you understand everything that's going on with your financial life. So online tools are a really great place to start, and they're much easier than what we're going to talk about in this second methodology, but for a lot of people, it's sometimes a little bit too convenient and it's really easy to get out of the flow of doing it because with online tools, since there are a lot of just general automation, it's sometimes something you can just push to the side and forget about. But one of the things that you really have to remember is that you're doing this for a reason, so you have to just make sure you keep up with it because at some point it's really easy for you to delete all those mint.com emails and just forget about everything that you set up. So just make sure that you stick to it whenever you start it. So we're going to stop here and do a quick Q&A for method 1 if you have any questions.
You mentioned Personal Capital, that's one you're using, like, is that a free app or?
Yes, so Personal Capital, they do have a portion that once you have a certain amount that you are investing, it costs a certain percentage for you to use it, but it's free up to, I believe, $10,000 of investments managed. So yeah, it's a free resource. It's available on Android and iOS.
Is Digit specific to your bank?
No, Digit is its own separate app.
What's a good percentage of your income would you say for savings? Would you say?
So a lot of the resources I looked at before say that you shouldn't try to do something that's extravagant, but general 10% is a good place to start when you're first starting budgeting. To have 10% savings from your monthly income. So next thing that we're going to talk about is the self-monitoring, which is more of a physical in-person type of method. So what it really is, if you don't really want to rely on technology, or you're kind of iffy on if you want to attach your bank account to some type of online tool, you can do everything that the online tool does for you in Excel or in writing. So that's what this kind of method is about. It's about those who really think that they're able to keep track of it on their own and just want to keep a running log by themselves. So it's really difficult to kind of start with this method because it's something that you really have to keep track of, because without, there is no automation, there is no really email reminders, it's just you having to go in and plug into it. So it may be hard or even overwhelming at first when you track things by hand, because a lot of people don't realize actually how much money they're spending or what they're actually spending it on. So when you take that step to actually write down everything that you do, and even in a day, it really becomes, wow, I didn't know I was doing all of that. But if you keep at it, you will succeed, because you get into the flow of it and you start understanding yourself a little bit more. So when you start with this method, it's best to ease your way in, because if you just try to go in and do one of those super massive Excel spreadsheets you can download offline, you'll close it and you won't open it again because it's so overwhelming. The first thing to do is to figure out how you want to track what you're actually spending. And that can be done in a log, it can be done in an Excel spreadsheet, or it can be done in just a running total, depending on how your finances and what type of expenses you have. So those are the three main methods for how you can do the self-monitoring method. For the log, what it is, it's a log that you keep on a constant basis. And by a basis, that can be anything that you want it to be. It can be daily, it can be weekly, it can be monthly. But what you're doing is you're going in and figuring out what you're spending on each of the sections that you identify that you're spending money on. So it can be entertainment, it can be food, it can be transportation, and you're just figuring out how much you spend on that, and that's your self-discovery month, because you really can't make an effective budget without understanding how you're using your money now. So you can't really optimize without having any idea what your baseline is. The second method is Excel. In Excel, it's a really good tool if you use it correctly and not try to do a little bit too much all at one time. So there are different resources you can download. I recommend that you use Mint.com has a free spreadsheet that's perfect for starting off as in a budget, and actually Excel has their own template that you can download that's right in the main portal that's really simple and really easy to set up. This third one is for people who don't really have that many expenses and are just trying to minimize their actual spending habits. So that's when you do totals, where it's daily, you just figure out how much am I spending daily, what am I spending it on, and starting to just go through and figure out what can I cut out and what can I do to just make it so that I'm not spending and wasting as much money as I am right now. So now our program director, Melissa, she's going to talk about her real life example of using Mint.
So I started using it when I was in college, and I used this spreadsheet. So they have it available as a template download, and they have the formulas that do the additions and subtractions. So this is my example I made in my senior year, and I have couple of notes on the side as well. So it's hard for students sometimes because you may not work a month-to-month job that gets you that paycheck, or you get money from your parents intermittently. So what I did to kind of balance out for the unevenness of you getting all your money at the beginning of the semester as a refund check is that I divided it into the 4 different months of each semester, and then made that my monthly income. So you can see that I spent monthly income for my job. I had a visual art and media center, and then I had my financial award, which was my scholarship, which was the refund check I got, and I divided that by each month. So even though I got it all at once, it made it much easier to do a monthly budget, which was the best way for me since I got paid bi-weekly. I just had to get all the times together. I had no allowance from parents and no other income, so that was a flat number I had at the top. And some monthly expenses. So I explained that my rent and my utilities were much lower than average because I split the cost of my roommate. So that's one of the budgeting tips is all the other ones you can see here were groceries, student loans, insurance. I put insurance and medical expenses separately because your medical expenses could just be your co-pays or your medication pays or payments. Student loans, it's something to check with your financial aid counselor because you could be paying interest and you may not know it based on what kind of loans you took out. So for me, I was paying student loans and the interest on those loans to try and pay off a little bit so I wouldn't have as much principal at the end. Entertainment is interesting because I had categorize that a little differently than, for instance, food. So if I went out to dinner with my friends or something, I put that as entertainment even though that was food. So that was a trick that I used to keep track of how much I was spending on entertainment because I convinced myself that going to Leo's at 4 a.m. was a great idea because it was food, but no, it was entertainment. So it's really great to have that divide there. And miscellaneous were things that didn't happen that often, like haircuts or my wedding happened, so I had wedding dress and shoes. And they were good to have there just so I know that that fluctuates a lot each month. The semester costs were everything having to do with school. So my tuition was paid by my scholarship, so I had 0 there. But that would be one of the things you need to look into that work up at that top part. That if you really got partial tuition scholarship, you would need to also kind of divide and think, what do I owe each month for tuition? Books, lab fees, transportation. Here I factored in buses, Uber, Lyft, and Metro because I lived in Arlington off campus my final year, so Metro actually became part of my daily expenses. And so the bottom part was the most important because like it was, you see the monthly income, the monthly expenses, and the semester expenses. It did all the formulas for me, so at the end I had some money left over, most of which I saved, or if there was enough, I would put more of an entertainment or keep for the next semester or next month. If I knew something's coming up, like my brother's wedding, I definitely saved up a lot for that. So I really recommend using ense.com if you are the kind of person that wants to do the Excel sheet themselves, and also it helps you get the reports once in a while, like you spent 20% of your budget on food, or like we noticed you have a lot of miscellaneous this month. What's up with that? I'm like, oh right, the wedding, or like, oh right, like I think that one class had an extra lab fees. That really helped me figure it out because when you pay those initially, you kind of forget about them after, but they do affect the months after when you're budgeting. So I recommend the service. It's really great. You're not paid by me. Yeah.
Okay, now Q&A for this section. So now we're going to do our final portion where we have a quick Q&A with Professor Amanda from Dunn School of Business.
Hi everyone.
Yeah, just a few questions to help you share your experience with students and get them understanding why budgeting is important.
All right.
So first, when and why did you start budgeting?
I started budgeting in college. I had several sources of income. I had some excess scholarship money. I had a part-time hourly job. I had a research assistantship that paid, I think maybe once a month. And so I had all these different sources of income. My scholarship money would come in at the beginning of the semester in a big chunk, and I would need to somehow spread out that income throughout my semester, and then also budget how many hours I would try to get on my work schedule versus how many hours that I could actually fit in working. And so that's why I started budgeting, and I have kept at it ever since. It's a really good practice.
And what were your most common budgeting mistakes and how did you get past them?
Definitely, initially I had, and this is something I struggle with today, you want to budget how much you would like to spend on a certain area. Okay, so I would like to be able to spend $50 a week going out to dinner with my friends. So I try to put that in my budget before I put in necessities like groceries. I would like to think I can get my groceries for $25 a week, but that's not really realistic. So I know at first I struggled with having all my, not starting with my income and subtracting out my outflows, but starting with all my desired outflows and then hoping that my income would be enough. And that's really not the best way to go about it. But the way I overcame it was to actually just track my spending very closely. And it was a lot harder to do back then than it is now, but I would keep all my receipts at that time. A lot of us don't give you receipts now, but I would just always ask for my receipts. I'd keep them in a stack, and then once or twice a week, I would log them. And I did that for 2 or 3 weeks before I started to see the patterns emerge, how much I actually spend in the grocery store, how much I actually spend going out to eat. And I started realizing ways that I could cut back in certain areas pretty easily. For example, if you go out to eat and order, if you are of drinking age, you order a drink to go with that can double the price of your meal at some places. If you are interested in taking up couponing, I started doing that in college. I don't do it anymore because it's pretty time consuming actually, and I just don't have time, but it was definitely worth my time in college. I would go to the grocery store and get a week's worth of groceries for $2. It can be done. What is the website I use? Couponmom.com. Check it out, okay? And it was fun. It was a fun hobby in college, actually. My friends and I would sometimes get paid to get our groceries. And so those are some of the things that I, did to help make the inflows be less than the outflows, and also just to keep track of things better.
So what would be your top 3 budgeting tips for students?
Top 3, I would say, I can probably sum it up before, current, and after, okay? So you want to look at what's happened before. You want to look at what you've done with your budget in the past for 2 reasons. You want to be able to evaluate what the most important parts of your budget are to you. So being in entertainment is very important to me. I enjoy going out to eat. I enjoy going to shows, all these sorts of things. So it's not my personality to cut my entertainment expenses to 3% of my budget, but I would rather coupon. But looking at what you have spent in the past helps you evaluate what your priorities have been, and it also helps you make a realistic budget going forward. And then in the current, there's a couple of tricks you can use. I saw you had some slides up from Dave Ramsey. He's a really good resource for beginning budgeting. Some of his methods are always great. Some of them get a little simple when things start to get more complex as you get older. But one thing that he recommends that was helpful to me at your age was using cash. So taking cash out with me. If I was going out with friends for the evening, I could say in advance, before I got caught up in the joy of the moment, I'm going to take $30 out with me tonight in cash, and that's all I'm going to have, okay? And if I have an emergency, maybe I keep some kind of debit card or a credit card or whatever, but only if you know that you don't have anybody you can spot some money from, because once you bring that out, that can be dangerous. But bring out cash and use cash. It feels more real when you spend cash. And just look for places during the day that you could cut 10% here, 10% there. That helps. And then looking forward, the third tip would just be to look forward. So don't just think about what you want to buy next month, whether or not you need a new outfit. Although it's important to think about if you have an interview, you might need a new suit or whatever that might be. But thinking a little bit longer term out, there is a time after graduation where a lot of you might be unemployed for a couple months. Okay, maybe you have a job lined up, but that job does not have a start date. Maybe you just want to take some time off and go travel. Those things are something you could start budgeting for now. And it's like Kevin mentioned, if you save too much and you wind up having to spend that money on something fun, that's not a bad thing. Another recommendation for just getting the most out of your money is trying to spend it on experiences instead of always just spending it on things, and just thinking about what you're getting in return for what you're spending. When you make that impulse purchase, which I think is something really easy for a lot of us to fall into. When you make that impulse purchase, don't think of it in terms of how much money you're giving for that purchase. Think of it in terms of what you're giving up for that purchase, and it might help you get a little bit of discipline.
So I was told before that tracking your spending and budgeting weren't the same thing. Is there a difference between the two?
There is. So think of budgeting as being on the front end, on the planning end, and then as tracking being on the how are you doing end. So when you first start budgeting, you'll want to track your previous month's expenses by using, if you use a lot of cash, it might be hard to do. If you use a lot of cash, then you might actually have to keep up with your receipts. But if you use a lot of your debit card, then you can go online and just see what your transactions were. And that'll help you establish norms in your spending that you can use to plan. But then once you get your budget, you'll want to check and be sure that you're following it. And that's hard to do on a current basis. It's hard for you to be at the store making a choice and doing that math in your head about how much you have left in your budget. So it's good throughout the month, as frequently as you need to check and see how you're doing to make sure you don't need to rein it in some areas until you get paid again or whatever.
Can you talk about building credit while trying to budget?
Yes, so that is a very tricky topic, because even the most disciplined and responsible among us can fall into the temptations of credit card debt, especially because the credit card companies tend to up your limit without you requesting it. I did open a credit card in college, unfortunately, and fortunately never got into trouble with it, very much anyways. I mean, there would be times when I remember being pretty stressed out because I had let Christmas shopping, run away from me, and I wound up with a credit card bill I had to pay off for a few months. The bad thing is that once you have it, it's there for you to use, and there's nobody disciplining on you, unlike a bank account where you have your limits, you can't spend beyond that. So all of that you probably know, but it is beneficial to have credit when you move on from college. So I've had several friends who did not open up credit cards in college, and they were completely fine, but they weren't my friends who were trying to buy a car the week of graduation. If you could, I think the best advice would be, if possible for you, if you foresee yourself being able to wait a couple of months with your big boy or big girl income, that's going to help you establish credit in itself, and then to be able to get a credit card at that time when you have probably, maybe not fewer temptations, but you have less free time for spending, I'll put it that way. You have more money to monitor, to be able to actually make credits on payments on your credit cards, and that sort of thing. But credit cards are not the only way you can establish credit. So it's definitely a jigsaw puzzle, and I don't want to tell everybody in this room to go get credit cards, because I'm sure that would turn into at least a few disasters. I think as long as you can put that off before it becomes necessary for you to get credit in your name would be the better thing to do. That's my opinion.
Would you suggest a monthly budget or more often?
That's a good question, and something that I actually meant to mention. So my personal budget, I use the Excel method, so I feel that I have to create my own individualized budget for me personally. But what I do is I set up my budget. It's pretty identical from month to month, but I set it up to a year in advance for each month, and it has all of my expenditures, all my bills, all those things in it projected outwards. What I'm able to do after that is go in on certain months and add where I might have an additional bill due. So some bills, as she mentioned, are semester basis, or they might just come once a year, or you might know that 6 months out from now you have a wedding or something. And so that allows you to actually let your formula flow through from month to month, so that your ending amount that you have left in your budget at the end of January will flow through to February. And that way you can check and make sure, if I'm winding up with $200 left a month in my budget in January and February, I'm not going to have enough money for that $600 bill that comes due in March. So I need to figure out where I can cut some of this out in January and February, and then possibly after March gets by and I have that bill and I pay it, I can resume my normal activity without having to worry about that. And that's a real stress reducer. So I would recommend doing it on both a monthly basis, but also out to a year in advance. Yes.
Do you have like any recommendations besides like
For saving money, it's always good to look for opportunities for extra income. I became pretty good at that. Now, with that being said, you're all students, and it's very important that you don't spend too much time on your jobs, because your future jobs will pay off if you do well in school. But there are sometimes opportunities that are really good for your future job opportunities, that are really good for learning, and that pay quite well. So other than internships, having a part-time job, I know when I was in college, I just stumbled upon the opportunity to be a coach for a year for a sport that I was involved in. And it wasn't a ton of money, but I enjoyed it. I really loved it, and I felt like it added to me as a human being. So it was a good opportunity, as opposed to, getting paid 5 cents to answer an email survey, which I think they also have opportunities like that. So just keep your eye out for those types of opportunities and pursue them, especially when they are related to your major.
So, not to get too far off topic, but how did you get into Kumbaya? I'm curious to hear about that.
I had a friend who did it, who was having a lot of fun with it, and she took me with her to the Grand. I'm from the southeast, so we have Publix there. I don't know if anybody knows Publix, but and so there was a grand opening of Publix, and she invited me because it's a big deal when a store opens if you're a couponer because they get a lot of good deals. So she invited me to come, and I was pretty amazed by it, and I saw myself having a lot of extra cash to spend, and I actually did have a lot of fun with it. You're not gonna, unfortunately, probably the reason I don't do that much anymore is because you're not gonna find your organic, type of thing. I mean, you're gonna get your crap mac and cheese and everything. So, but I was fine with that in college. I really did. So, anyways, that was fun. I would recommend that, and you should check out iHeartPublix.com. Even though there's not a Publix here, there might be some good stuff there. Yeah.
Do you have any tips about like saving on a monthly basis?
Yes, I do have another tip that I meant to mention. You should definitely do the autosave thing, and you should take it out before you ever even see it, if at all possible. It should be the first thing that leaves your budget, and it should go to leaves your account every month or every time you get paid. So if you get paid once a semester, take it out first. Put it in a place where you won't see it. Put it in a place that, don't put it in your other checking account. Put it in a different bank savings account where it is not, where you cannot just simply on your phone switch it over when you get tempted by something. We have, my husband and I have our salaries automatically deposited by our bank. We don't even see it come into our account, into a certain savings account that is actually invested into a mutual fund. But I am amazed every year at how much we save without even realizing it. And sometimes, another thing is you can't compare yourself to the person next to you. You don't know how much debt they have. You don't know how much money they make. They might make twice as much money as you, and that's fine. Okay, but they might also have a ton of debt, and they also might not save anything. And my husband's in the military, so we know how much everybody makes, because everybody makes the exact same thing if you're at a certain level. And so sometimes we have to remind ourselves, because we see other people spending so much more money than we spend, that we're saving a lot of money and we just never see it. And another goal that we have personally is that when he does get promoted and when I get promoted and we get raises, we try to stay in our same standard of living, because it gets to a point where you get to a standard of living that is comfortable for you and that you're enjoying life and you're not stressed about money, but you're not spending a ton of money. And you realize, I don't need a whole lot more. So what would be really great is if instead of just spending more money on junk when we make a raise, that we would either save that money for a vacation or save it for something to enrich our lives or save it for retirement or just put it back for something so it doesn't just kind of blow away every month and don't even know what happened to it.
I have a lot of mood swings, to be honest, and I have impulse buys, okay, because of that. And it's really hard to kind of manage your budget, because when you have impulse buys and then after 2 days, if you can't return them, you're looking at your balance and you're wondering, oh my god, what did I do? I'm going to is there any way, what would you do if you were in that situation?
If I was in that situation, I would block myself from my favorite shopping websites. Do you shop online? Yeah, I would block myself from those sites And I mean, that's an exercise in discipline for sure. I think we've all been there, maybe some more than others. And you can always make sure you buy stuff from places you make returns to, because you might decide you don't want to sub so much. But I mean, I would say think of some way of making it very difficult for you to buy things impulsively. Whether that's locking yourself on a TV, whether it's freezing your credit card inside a block of ice so you have to wait long enough for it to melt before you can use it. And there's a lot of tricks out there, but you gotta find a way to block it.
And just sorry, one more question. So I don't know if it's covered in but I came a little late in that class. But then, I always wanted to invest in mutual funds or in, stocks. But there's also a lot of uncertainty and lack of knowledge, at least for college students, or, who are not from the financial background. Like as a science student, I really have no knowledge of what goes on there. So to start off somewhere, do you think penny stocks would be a great place to start, or should I invest in other places?
I would recommend trying to save $1,000. That is not the minimum threshold for everything, but for a lot of places it is. And I would go to one of the giant investment firms like Vanguard, and I would invest in one of their mutual funds. It's very safe. They're really well managed. Yes, you might experience losses, but you just stay in there and you'll find that you, over time, will experience more gains and losses. That's the way it's been throughout time. And you don't have to have any expertise of your own. And I wouldn't recommend investing yourself, because it's very time consuming to make the right decisions, and you've got to be on your computer all the time, and that's not a good way for you to spend your time. So, but if you can get that minimum amount, they'll manage it for you for hardly any money, and also you can withdraw that money pretty easily if you need to.
Would you recommend Wealthfront or Betterment? They're essentially like Vanguard, where they're doing it's on an algorithm that doesn't cost anything up until like $15,000.
You should be able to compare all the funds, and so every fund is different.
Yeah.
And so I know we're getting kind of out of the budget territory, but you can, at least under Vanguard and some of the other major ones, you can actually compare the fund that you're looking at. I'm holding up a circle because it's usually a picture of a pie when you start looking at your fund. It's a pie chart that shows you what proportion is in what different kinds of investments. And it'll show you the comparable funds from different companies and what the return has been over time. And usually it has been pretty similar for all the large ones, but I won't be able to comment on the specific ones that you're looking at, but the information is out there, so just make sure you take advantage of it. The fees for, at least for small cap investors like myself and many of you, I would assume are, I consider them practically negligible. They're worth every penny, and I still get a great return. So I've gotten 12% over the last few years in the market. The markets are doing well. It's a good time.
Would you recommend having multiple bank accounts at different banks, or would you recommend focusing on just?
I'm fine having one bank account or one bank. Some people don't agree with me because they're worried that the banks will go under and that they'll lose their money. So unless you have over, I think the threshold is $100,000, you should never have $100,000 cash sitting in the bank. I mean, put it in a mutual fund or anywhere. It might as well just be in your mattress, okay? So just one bank account, in my opinion, is completely fine. But if we have the apocalypse and you lose your $100,000, then I have no responsibility. Yes.
Where are you getting 12%?
I think my Vanguard account.
Oh, is it Vanguard?
Yeah, it's a risky. So that I should probably preface it with that, but it is purposely risky for my preferences. But it's pretty well.
I was just wondering. I won't get into the issues of it, but yeah.
Yeah, but you can choose any level of risk. You can choose very low risk or high risk, whatever your fancy is.
So when you prepare your budget, I'm sure you must have some buffer, or you must like in your monthly budget for any unexpected expenses, right?
Oh, mm-hmm.
So how do you determine what buffer or how much do you keep? Because like suppose that holiday season, of course you're gonna have like a monthly budget more because of it's a holiday season, you're gifting and everything. Otherwise, but on average, what is the best way to determine that buffer, for your budget?
Part of those unexpected expenses you can use your savings account for. So if you're saving 10%, ideally you would never have to use that because nothing unexpected would ever come up. But that is the purpose of the savings because unexpected things happen.
I meant